And we are live for a
Hey,
new
David.
PhD Dojo. Hey, Gad, how are you?
Very good, and you?
Very good, very good. I'm
How was your winter? The
oh,
beginning of the winter.
it's
Yeah.
been okay. It's been okay. I was just thinking that after this, I'm going to have to go shovel the driveway because we had over a foot of snow over the last the last night. But it's been a good winter. It's been a good start of the year. I was mentioning to you just before, but you already knew that Papa PhD got its first sponsor, which I'm super happy for. And it's funny, it's a sponsor that you'll probably find interesting what they do. They're a startup connecting researchers with private sector people who need researchers in their company. So knowing what you work in, it must be something quite interesting to you. But I'm super happy. It's a milestone for the podcast, and it's a great start of the year for me. So yeah, no complaints.
Great. Yeah. So
So what about you?
very good. We work extremely hard these days with second lab. We've started our fourth cohort with the mentorship and professional development program. Maybe some mentees are around and seeing the podcast. But
Maybe
yeah,
is
I'm
is
very, I'm
Amel
very
Khaled one of your mentees?
no,
Oh well,
no.
but let's say hello to Amel. I thought he might be one
Hello,
of the
Amel.
second lab mentees.
Yeah,
Um,
and yeah, I'm very proud of the group. They're very awesome. This this week we've got um, like a networking event between mentors and mentees. So 50,
okay.
50 people around the table.
Oh wow,
That was very nice. Yeah, that was very nice. So yeah.
super,
So
super.
today, what's the topic?
The topic today is something
You want to
I
introduce
have.
it?
I can introduce it a little bit. It's something I struggled with during my PhD for sure, and it sounds it may sound like one dimensional when you say it, and we're talking about time management during your PhD and in general. But it's so much more than just having a schedule and having a spreadsheet with allotted times, because it's something that can affect your life in many ways, and that can
Mhm.
be more challenging for one person than the next. So yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this, especially like I said, because it is something that I remember struggling with this question of time management.
Yeah, I struggle too with this time management because I was the kind of people who saying yes to everything when I was during my PhD, and maybe a lot of us are like this. Like we are interested, very curious about many things, and we like to do many things. Um, yeah, we have to manage time, and at some point, it's just like finding you have too much job that you have
Mhm.
accepted, and you're not able to deliver at time. So it's
Mm.
it could be very complicated. So I will after my PhD, I read some books, and
Mhm.
what we talk we will talk today are everything are in books. And the first things that I found and that just blow my mind is you don't have to manage your time; you have to manage your energy.
Hmm. I find that so interesting, because when I was saying that it's not one dimensional, I was thinking that time and how we perceive time and how we perceive our scarcity of time
Mhm.
affects our anxiety, our mental health in general,
Mhm.
and eventually can affect our health in general. And that's what I was saying. And the fact that you connected with energy makes a lot of sense to me. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, exactly. So when you were 18,
Hmm.
you were a teenager or let's say below 25. I mean, you have full of energy. You can work full time for 60 hours nonstop, and nobody. I mean, nothing can. You don't have many problem with that. But after 25, 30, you just like at some point you get tired of working.
Hmm.
A lot of people in graduate studies told me like they work more than 50 hours. And there's scientific papers saying like nobody can work more than 50 hours because, I mean, productively or effectively, because it's we not machines, you know,
Mhm.
we cannot like the, you know, do you remember this advertisement where you have a rabbit with
Yeah, the Energizer, or in Europe
living?
is in Europe
Yeah,
it's Duracell in
Duracell, exactly. In Europe, it's Duracell, but we not like that. We cannot have cymbals and clap cymbals
you
for
know.
hours and hours
No.
without being exhausted at some point. So and even if we are doing like um, intellectual work, we cannot um, work all that time. So we have to do some breaks
Mm.
because we have to restore our energy. So what, and everybody can feel it during the day. We all have our energy. We have one energy peak during the day that lasts maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. I can tell you that for me it's between 11, let's say 10:30 and let's say 12, 1, sometimes a little bit more, because I'm kind of what I'm saying all the time, old diesel, you know, old diesel engine. So I struggle to wake up in the morning, and I start to be very effective in the middle of the morning. So,
Okay.
but you know, this is, you have also like you know, some people are what we call the owl, like the night owl, and some people are early birds.
Yes,
And
that's true.
in preparing the topic, I was just seeing what it comes from, and it seems that there's a part of genetics behind that,
Okay.
and also education. But we all have an energy peak somewhere
Mm.
in the day, and you have to discover when. You know.
For
Yeah.
me, I'd say I'm more of a night owl, although
Hmm.
things change, and having kids and everything has kind of changed that somehow.
Hmm.
But naturally, at that, when I was doing my PhD, I think that was it. I was always able to work late at night
Hmm.
better than starting early in the morning. And I think it's kind of swapped now in now
Yeah.
at this stage of my life. But that's where I remember. It's interesting that you're talking about that, about knowing your cycle, because we're people, we're made of habits. But also there's a physiology to it that's particular to each person. So you need to know
Hmm.
when these peaks are. I'm interested to. I imagine you're gonna talk something about how to capitalize on knowing that.
Yeah.
But this is interesting because in a few weeks I'll be talking with a guest. Her name is Özgun Unver, and about burnout. And
Hmm.
one of the dangers of over expending your energies is burnout. But like I said, it's going
Yeah.
to be the theme, the subject of a full episode. But if you're listening, and if you have issues with time management, burnout is a danger. So this is why we're talking about this today.
Yeah. And curiously, when, yeah, burnout is just like you overwork, you just work, and you don't reload your energy. You wake up in the morning just like burned. You
And
have 20% of the battery, and,
yeah.
and you have to do it the day with it. So and burnout means like you burn, like you burn your energy.
Hmm.
And which is interesting is in physics, energy is in joules, um, and work is in joules as well.
Hmm.
So I think energy makes sense. And the thing is, how to not be burned out is to reload their energy with cool stuff like outside of work,
Hmm.
taking some breaks first, having a physical. It's very basic. It seems very obvious. Physical activities, hanging some with some friends, have social interactions, have also like make it you in PhDs we just like working the brain all the time. Sometimes you have to stop and doing something else with your brain. So watching
Mm-hmm.
movies, reading books, very good. And also spiritually, like you can make some people making yoga. This is not my stuff, but you can have like power nap,
Mm-hmm.
meditations, things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
so there's many ways. Like this is some in another book that I saw these
Mm-hmm.
things. um, and yeah, there's a way to reload their energy. You can during the day or during the weekend, or that's the reasons why we don't work like
Mm-hmm.
how employers ask us to work 35 hours a week, because or even more, like 40 hours a week, but no more, because at some point you're not productive, you burned.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then the quality of what you bring is not good anymore. Now, one thing I
Hmm.
remember feeling during my PhD, especially, third year, fourth year, starting at the middle, was having, and especially because I was having like to troubleshoot stuff and things weren't working, and
Hmm.
I was seeing the end of the PhD arrive, and there was some pressure there, some anxiety, and the instinct or the what was happening was that I was looking at my schedule and thinking, and also getting this messaging from outside that, okay, I need all the time that I see, all the time slots that I see here free
Hmm.
on my agenda of the week, I need to fill them with PhD. And
Yeah,
what you're saying is, if you do that, you're just expanding this battery and never recharging.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it feels to me like you need to have these like two colors. Let's say cold colors is recharging, and then warm colors is work, and there needs to be a mix of that
Yeah.
during your day or during your week as a
Hmm.
graduate student.
Yeah. So I will come later with another concept, but yes, you have to find some space in your schedule, and
Can
you
you
have
repeat that?
to have
It just got, you have to find.
some space in your schedule,
Okay.
just to just to reload your energy. As you said, like you can have two colors, you can have different times, and when somebody asks you like in my schedule, personally, I have some space to write, where I
Hmm.
refuse to get meetings,
Hmm.
because I need to produce documents in my job, and I need some space to write. And I'm taking the moment where I have full of energy for some days during the week, just to write. I'm not checking my emails. I'm just writing.
Hmm.
And there's other space for meetings, and I'm not playing. I used to plan meetings during the afternoon. So
Hmm.
because I know myself, and I know where I can be better at meetings,
Okay.
and yeah. So if I have to decide it, this is what I'm doing. So
Hmm.
just to come back on that, like there's an exercise that I'm suggesting for that. So
Okay.
we've talked about peak of energy and how to discover when it is.
Yes.
Just like probe your energy during the day. So you wake up in the morning and you start to count, like how am I feeling? So um, I'm feeling very well. So I have like between 0 and 10, a level of energy like 7.
Okay.
Good. The next hour, what's going on?
Hmm.
I'm at 5. Okay. The hour later, okay, I'm at 8. So you can do it during all the day. You do it during 3 days. You wait 1 week and do it during 3 days, and you have stats. So you can have standard deviation and an average. So, and usually what's coming is you can have a Gaussian curve like this. So and you have your peak of energy at some point, Gaussian curve.
Hmm. Hmm.
You can go beyond that, so you can write on the paper with the numbers, like I have 5 because I talked to my colleague and he give me a bad news about my experiments or something like that.
Okay.
So you can do that. Try to have some stats, and you can trace the curve, and you know exactly more or less where your energy peak is,
Hmm.
and you can leverage that
Hmm.
and organize your time from that.
I love it. It's the scientific
Yeah,
method. It's perfect for our
that's
audience.
exactly, that's the scientific method. So if you have like a very important things to do during the day, do it during your peak of energy, like during the day, because you know that it's 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. Do it at 9 a.m.
Mhm. Look, we have Ibrahim Bilem here saying that he
Hey,
agrees that
very,
this topic. Oh, oh, it's someone from the second lab, or is it
yeah,
someone
yeah.
from your lab?
Ibrahim is my colleague at the second lab.
Okay, there you go. Thanks, Ibrahim. Thanks to everyone that's watching live, but thank you also if you're watching the replay. It's always great to have your feedback, be it live or after. Any if our conversation elicits something, some idea, some story that you want to share, go in the comments and please do. We'll be happy to respond and to react. But I love this. I love this a scientific method of identifying your
Mhm.
peak. Of course, this is going to be an approximate thing, and then
Exactly.
and then leaving or trying to schedule the most energy consuming activities, let's say, for you for that part of the day, and then the ones that are easier for you or less energy consuming for the either before or after. That's super
Yeah,
interesting.
of course, this is something where you're the only person to work with. You don't work with others. That's
Hmm.
very ideal. But of course, you work with others, so you have to adapt yourself with the others. But if you have to work by yourself and decide how you want to manage your time, it's
Hmm.
a good exercise and it's a good plan.
Yeah.
But of course, you have to adapt with others who are better to work in the morning, or I don't know.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
think the message is not a rigidity about what you do and when, but it's having this information allows you to, when there's a choice, to place things there, to be strategic about it. No, no, I
Exactly,
totally
exactly.
I totally understand. One thing you're making me think about is because here we're talking about the day, right? Starting in the
Hmm.
morning and then finding where your peak is, etc. But I feel, especially some activities. I remember for me, I had to spend hours in the dark at the microscope counting cells, and there's also something that I didn't remember existing while I was in the PhD, but now is fairly known, which is the Pomodoro method. Is it something that you've heard about?
Yeah, yeah. That was my next point. Actually, you
Oh,
you
okay.
just read my mind.
There you go. I'll let you, but I really
Do you
really
want to?
love it.
Do you want to explain?
I can explain. Actually, it's funny
Yeah.
because people have asked me why Pomodoro, and I've explained this a couple of times. If you if you depending on how much you were attentive to the kitchen in your house growing up, you might have seen a little tomato that your mom or the person cooking, your dad, whoever, would turn to count the minutes for a specific step of a cooking protocol. Let's say like cooking eggs or baking this or baking that, and that tomato and at a certain point, I remember there was one of those at my house, and I think at a certain point the people who were selling those or making those were making tomatoes. I don't know, there was a fashion about it, and a
Hmm.
tomato in Italian is pomodoro, and the idea is to have this type of thing, to have a set amount of minutes that you're focusing. So you would virtually, because you can do this on websites or even on your phone, you would put a timer for, let's say, 20-25 minutes, and you say, okay, I'll focus during this time. Then when it beeps, it's a break, and I set another timer for 5 minutes of whatever energizes me or relaxes me, and then I pick up again. I don't know
Yeah,
if you have anything to add to that, but it's as simple
yeah,
as that.
yeah. And actually, yeah, it's it's as simple as that. You plant just one tomato or two tomatoes in a row,
Mhm.
and you break like I think it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If you and the tomato is 25 minutes,
Something like
um,
that, yes.
something like that. And yeah, very cool. This is exactly the energy problem. So
Mhm.
you use your energy, you reload your energy because you're doing a break, drinking a coffee or
Standing up, whatever,
then,
moving
yeah, and
around.
doing like that. And I can tell you, I'm a old smoker. I was
Okay.
smoking a long time ago. I'm not
Mhm.
smoking anymore, and I was very productive as a smoker because
Mhm.
I was doing some breaks to go
Oh, yeah.
outside and smoke. But fortunately, I'm not doing that anymore because it's bad for health. It's good to say that, but yeah, and yes, so Pomodoro is a very good, yeah, very good
Very good
strategy.
technique.
Like
And it's so
it's a good
simple. It
thing.
is so simple and it works.
It's it's very very simple. Yeah, exactly.
And then you do something rewarding in the middle.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you smoke, it could be to go for a cigarette. Of course, we don't recommend it, but
No.
it could be checking your social media, something like that. We have actually Ibrahim asking a question. Let's look at it, Gad.
Yeah, go on, Ibrahim.
So Ibrahim says, I have a question. Let's say that a PhD decides to work 40 hours a week. Is it worth it to track the time you're really working on every task? I say that because sometimes we're in the lab 12 hours a day, but we really work probably not more than 5 hours.
Hmm.
And I think he's touching kind of on a point that we didn't mention it like that, but what you said points to it, which is if you have set an objective of this many hours uninterrupted, part of those hours, maybe half of those hours, will be unproductive, which I think is more or less what Ibrahim is alluding to.
Hmm.
So yeah, is it useful to set a hard objective of hours per week? What's your take on that, Gad?
That's a good point. So I don't think we need to be crazy with the time that we're doing. Like if it's 40 hours, it's 40 hours. We have to be adaptable, and there is you plan your day, and at some point you have an emergency that coming, and especially in a lab that always happens, and especially also in a biology lab, there's always emergencies. Like
Hmm.
I don't know, but no, don't set hard time to yourself. Don't be too hard with yourself, but sometimes you have to be flexible with yourself. So,
Hmm.
and it really depends also of it happens that I'm working late at night, and but I'm full of energy because I just got a good diner, or
Hmm.
I met somebody that make me laugh,
Hmm.
and I don't know, and
Or a
and
good idea came up in your brain. You
yeah,
were in the shower and you
yeah,
were, I
I
have to.
have to write it down. So yeah, you don't have to be crazy with that. But I really recommend to know yourself better,
Hmm.
to just like figure out when it's the good moment to stop
Hmm.
or to continue.
Yeah. Again, it's interesting because this is connecting to a conversation that I'm having tomorrow with Kimberly Duong, which is goal setting. I think it's
Oh
much
yeah,
more interesting to set goals for your week,
yeah.
set goals for the week versus time. Because if you set a time for the week and then you feel that you run out of steam or you run out of work and now there's a you're not reaching that objective. I think it's going to be a source of bad feelings towards yourself and towards your performance. Plus, it can also make you, you know, bring you to find reasons to stay at lab when actually that week your productivity, what
Mhm.
you could be productive in, is done, and you could then go recharge, like you said.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Ibrahim, I really think setting a definite amount of hours can be counterproductive. Of course, it depends. In some labs, the culture is there's a culture and there's messaging to be there. To have FaceTime there, and I don't think it's the right way to go. But I believe, in a lot of conversations I've had, and even during my PhD, that PIs, whoever's supervising you wants results. So if you set goals, uh, there's going to be a week where you're going to do, I don't know, 55, and then there's another week where you can reach your goals, and then maybe have an extend goals if you reach that goal. I think that's much more productive. It can be much more rewarding and less conducive to feelings of failure, or not being good enough, or not having given enough.
Mhm.
That's my feeling about it.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And about goals, like your goals should be smart. This
Yes.
this acronym. You can verify, but I think it's smart. It's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bounded.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
not that bad. So yeah,
Good.
this is this. So when you plan a goal, like it should be a smart goal.
Hmm.
um, it's a stuff that everybody, not everybody, like many people in industry use these days to plan. The other thing is the challenge that, especially if you are in biology or everything in biotech, you have an experiment that lasts maybe 10 hours, 20
Yes.
hours. Yeah. I just I just I don't think that we should work alone on these experiments. We should be like two or three
Hmm.
working on the same experiment as a team, because after 5 hours you're just like exhausted. Yeah, five hour under the hood, you're exhausted,
Yeah.
and somebody can take over it and continue the experiment. I think it could
Yeah.
be a good thing. Um,
Or if you're really the only person who can do that, then if you have to do this day of 12 hours or whatever, then give yourself the space on the next day, the liberty to say, okay, tomorrow the morning I'll take it to recharge, and then I'll come back to lab at 12. The world is not going to end because I wasn't there at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m.
Yeah, that makes sense too. That's very good too. We okay, we've discussed about time management in the short term, but what
Mhm.
do you think about long term? Like I have to manage time like for a month, a year, 2 years.
that's
I don't.
that's an even harder exercise. Although I think it was
Yeah,
important to talk about the short term because it's what people deal with every day.
yeah.
And I think we've made a good point of yes, using time to do the Pomodoro, for example, but think more, be more goal oriented, and when you're actually thinking of your week.
Mhm.
But yeah, when if you're thinking about a semester or a year or your PhD, it becomes more and more difficult. What have you read about that, Gad?
Not. I mean, I think it's very hard.
Or
I don't have
or what
many
what
advice, but
reflections? What reflections do you have
yeah,
on that?
reflections. I mean, smart goals is a very good thing. Like,
Hmm.
if you have to plan a goal, just plan a goal. Like, I have to do it in the next 2 years. And I think you have a goal could be very um, difficult to reach when you design it like this. So
Hmm.
you have the goal. It seems a big goal. So I think you just have to cut your task in very sub task,
Hmm.
and this is how you organize yourself. So let's say well, in the next 5 years I will finish my PhD. So that could be the task.
That can be a first one, yeah.
Okay, being like specific, measurable, etc. uh, how I can divide it to small tasks, and if these tasks are not cut it enough, you cut enough, you just cut it in sub task.
Hmm.
And this is where you can organize yourself and reach the goals at the end. Bring the resource with you, like it's like project management. Like
Yeah.
you bring the resource with you. What kind of your resource do you need to to do your task? I think this is a. And then when you have this to-do list, because it's a to-do list, when you have this to-do list, just put it in a calendar, use the Pomodoro, the peak
Hmm.
energy, and all
Hmm.
that thing. So I
Yeah.
think this is
I
a
love.
good way to do
I
it.
really love it. One exercise that I've done actually in the last year that I found really interesting and that I think can be useful for this is I don't know if you've done this in any set in any setting, the lifeline exercise,
Yeah,
and
go
of
ahead.
course I've done it looking at the past, what's happened since, let's say, 2010, this, but I think that because using a calendar for that can be, if you're planning for something in 5 years, it can be challenging to use a calendar for that, in my opinion. But if you go on, Canva or let's say um, Excel or even just PowerPoint, and you make a line of what you think your PhD will last 5 years, year one, year two, year three, year four, year five, and then you start placing things there, starting to write my thesis, turn in my thesis, different exams that you might have, and then like you said, going more and more granular. Of course, things that are farther away, it takes time before you can get granular,
Hmm.
but things that are 6 months away, then you can, like you say, cut that big bucket into smaller and smaller things.
Hmm.
That would be the thing that I would add to what you said, because I'm
Hmm.
visual, and a lot, well, we're all visual, but for me
Yeah.
to be able to in one go see all of it is very, very helpful. And anything that's really far away, I tend my you know my brain tends to not think about it and forget about it. But I do agree, and that going back, if I had in the first year sat down with someone, or if someone had sat down with me and say, okay, let's look at your next 6 years and let's place things there, I think I would have had a better experience. It could have only helped me go through the experience of the PhD, and so I recommend it to anyone out there. And
Hmm.
of course, we're kind of like juggling with these ideas live here. If you have any questions and want to discuss it more, just talk to Gad on LinkedIn, or to me, or leave a comment on YouTube even, and we'll be glad to discuss it. But it's a really great point. I'm really happy that you brought it, because very, very often when you talk about time management, it stops at the Pomodoro and the journaling and etc. And
Hmm.
I think this idea of strategically thinking years ahead is very important.
Yeah.
Months ahead, but also years ahead.
Yeah, that's really when we talk about management, this is exactly this. So you have to
Mhm.
break down the task. What kind of resource do you need? How much time do you need to do each task? And we all know that the life is not a straight line.
Mhm.
It's not straight. You have, we plan like a line, but we know that everything it's like this. So you have
Mhm.
just coming back, and you have found something. So yeah, your planning is a line, but you have to deal with uncertainty sometimes, and somebody can be sick, a resource can be not available at some days,
Mhm.
so we have to be flexible with the project as well, and bring this
Yes.
flexibility in your planning as well.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Because time is, it feels like each second that you see the hands of the clock go,
Hmm.
and it's a very finite, a very final thing. But planning, like you said, you need to give yourself flexibility. If you're rigid, then you're going to suffer each time there's a change in plans, and there
Hmm.
will be changes in plans during a PhD. Now, one thing that I'd like to mention, and you kind of alluded to it by saying that long projects should be there should be multiple people involved. So if there's a
Hmm.
10-hour protocol that you can share. And one thing that I would like to propose, and I'd like to have your feedback on that, Gad, is that on your line, or on that lifeline of your PhD, that you also put the people that are going to be important at different points, because it can be, the tendency can be to, oh, it's my PhD, I'll go it alone. And I think it's better that if you have mentors, if you have people who can counsel you, who can help you with writing, and to identify these people around you, and also put them there. Oh, at this stage I should talk with, also, like, I should have a committee meeting, for example, but I should talk with someone about writing, about thesis writing,
Yeah.
or etc. What do you think about that? And this
Yeah.
would be almost the last question
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Because it could be a topic by itself. So, yes.
Yeah.
So what? what I'm saying to my colleague at the second lab is we don't work alone never on any
Hmm.
task, because it could be very difficult to work alone first. And I mean, teamwork is better always. Um, the other thing is as PhDs we have a problem to ask help. I mean, a lot of PhDs have a problem to ask help. And why should I doing information interview? You just ask help and understand something. We just have to force ourselves to ask help, and never do the things alone. I think it's a principle. Of course, the PhD is made for being yours as an individual. I'm seeing always the name of the professor at the lab, because this is his lab or her lab. Um, I mean, individuality in academia is very prominent. We don't work for a company; we work for a lab owned by one professor or two. Depends on the countries and things like that. But teamwork is so important, because being two or three is always better than being just one on one task. Even if it's your PhD, you can just help each others with the your I mean your and the other people task or burden or any kind of experiments. It's better to do it by two or by one. Of course somebody will tell you, okay, you didn't do the things alone. Yes, I'm a team player. That's how it works, you know.
Sorry, there's noise on my side, but yes, I agree totally. And you're gonna help each other with the skills, with your, because different
Mhm,
people have different strengths. Someone's good at making figures, someone's good at reviewing. You know, there's different things. And then also, I'm thinking about the lab. Someone's better at this technique or that technique. And being a team player is something that's going to be helpful when you're having career conversations later on.
mhm,
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm sorry. I'm in my basement, and there's noise that I can't. I won't be able to erase this from the audio later on. But yeah, I think. Did you have anything more in mind, God?
no,
Coming to
i
this
think
interview?
we i think we talked about a a lot of cool things today. So peak energy, Pomodoro, how to plan short term, long term, making like a lot of things like the smart goals. We talked a little bit about the smart goals.
Hmm.
We came to team playing and work with others and calendars and things like that. So I think we talked about everything
Yeah.
in
Oh,
in
look.
38 minutes. That was very efficient.
Yes. Look, Ibrahim says that he would like to share this tool that I've heard of, Notion, uh, and that it might help for planning. I would actually ask Ibrahim that maybe, and let's talk after. We can talk on LinkedIn or whatever. If you do you want to come to talk about how you use Notion on the show, I think it'd be a great opportunity. It's something I've heard of. It's something some people love, and then some people not so much. So I wonder
Mhm,
whether it has to do with how people's brains work. But I'd be glad to do an episode on that, and sharing this tool, and sharing, especially not the tool itself, but how you're using it, Ibrahim. It'd be great. So I'm
mhm.
extending this invitation to you right here live on the show. Um, you were gonna say something, God.
No, Ibrahim, you mostly welcome to come. You know, just like show you up. That would be nice to have you there.
All right. Excellent. God,
Good.
this was great. I think it was really. I think to me at least, it would have been useful to know some of these things when I was going
Mhm,
through my PhD. And I think I can vouch, or I can be behind all of the things we said. Again, if you're listening or watching and have more questions, or want to go deeper on one or another of the things we shared, Gad, I think you'll agree. You're open for people to reach out on LinkedIn. Same thing
mhm.
for me,
Yes, for
and
sure.
we're here to help. And this is the dojo. The idea is that you put on a white belt and come practice with us. So feel
Hmm.
free, David at papaphd.com. Gad, what's the best place to reach out to you?
I mean, I have an email address, gad.sabbatier at thesecondlab.com, or you can reach me out on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Actually, let me see if uh, I have. No, I don't have it here. I will create one of these marquee things with here with
Oh, yeah.
our contacts for the next episode. All right, Gad,
Next time.
this was great. 40 minutes, like you
Yeah.
said, short and sweet. Um, I wish everyone a great end of the day. If you're listening later on, thank you for coming on either on LinkedIn or YouTube and listening and watching this after we had the live. It's super appreciated. Leave us a like, follow Papa PhD, and follow me on LinkedIn and Papa PhD on YouTube, and also the Second Lab.
Yes, for sure. So you can follow us on LinkedIn. Our LinkedIn page. We share some advices, some news, some other things. If you want to do it more, we're looking for volunteers as well. So if you want to volunteer for the Second Lab, it's pretty open to us. So reach me out if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, and see you on the next PhD Dojo.